His Grace Devakinand Prabhu is a senior disciple of His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, and he is currently a governing body commission in ISKCON for legal matters on a global level. Prabhuji is practicing lawyer from Singapore and has been in ISKCON since 1983. He also serves as a zonal supervisor for ISKCON Singapore and MBT trustee. So Prabhu, just like we have heard about Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a High Court magistrate, he was doing his profession along with managing a family and writing more than 100 books. Similarly, Devakinand Prabhu, following in footsteps of many such great devotees, he also, you can see, he goes to court, he has his cases to handle, many things, but his heart is in Srimad Bhagavatam. So you may be aware, some time ago, one His Grace Kala Chakra Prabhu Kala Krishna came to Pune. So His Holiness Mahavishnu Maharaj has some of his very senior disciples. One is our His Grace Devakinand Prabhu, another Kala Krishna Prabhu. So they are all very confidential, intimate associates of Maharaj who have been very close to him and taking personal instructions from him. And in this way, they have been actually sheltering Maharaj's disciples across the globe. After Maharaj's Vaikunthavas, they have been, he has been very instrumental in keeping the disciples group very intact by feeding them the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam on a regular basis. And also Singapore community, he started from the scratch and developed it into a very big community. There is one devotee from Pune called Dinabandhu Chaitanya Prabhu, who along with his family had gone to Singapore for a job, but he was so deeply touched by Prabhu's association. Anybody who goes there, they become completely glued to Srimad Bhagavatam like honeybees surrounding a flower. So he himself relishes Bhagavatam. You will see that today. He recites Bhagavatam verses in very sweet meters, and he has memorized hundreds and thousands of them. You will see that. So Prabhu is a lawyer by profession, running his own private practice in Singapore, and an exemplary grihastha married to Her Grace Radhika Mataji, also an initiated disciple of His Holiness Mahavishnu Maharaj, and she is a school principal in Singapore. They have 2 children. Prabhuji is backbone of all the yatras of His Holiness Mahavishnu Maharaj, including ISKCON temple in Dwarkadam, Rajkot and Trivandrum. And Prabhu travels around the globe to many countries, including Australia, United States of America, Europe, giving classes on the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhu is also an expert preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam and a wonderful kirtan leader. Many have taken to Krishna consciousness just by hearing his kirtans. On top of all this, he is also leading the congregation devotees in Singapore. He was instrumental in setting up an ISKCON center there, as I told you. Through Prabhu's efforts, university preaching has also grown phenomenally in Singapore. Many university students have enthusiastically taken up to Krishna consciousness. And by Prabhu's regular programs, he does many well-planned programs. I always wanted to learn from him how he manages his time. You know, at the end of his class, I will request him to give us a clue about the schedule of his day. So many of us have already fainted after hearing schedule of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But we can learn from Prabhu how meticulously he spends time. He is playing a very important role in the leadership of ISKCON, and he is here with us. On an average, we try to get him at least once in a year. Thanks to the GPC meetings held here in Pune this time, we could have him. Let us welcome him to Sri Sri Radha Vrindavan temple with one loud Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Sri Devakinand Prabhu ki.
Jai Radhesham Prabhu ki. Thank you so much, Radhesham Prabhu. Very kind words. We have been waiting for Prabhu to come to Singapore, but he's so busy here that it's very difficult. But we pray somehow that he can come and that all of you can come and join us also. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Thank you, brother. जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी, जय गिरिवरधारी। जय यशोदानंदना जय प्रजनरंजना, जय यशोदानंदना जय प्रजनरंजना, जय यमुना तीर वनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी, 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 जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी, जय गिरिवरधारी, जय यशोदानंदना जय प्रजनरंजना, जय यमुना तीर वनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी, जय यमुना तीर वनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी, जय यमुना तीर वनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय श्री श्री राधा माधव की जय श्री श्री राधा वृंदावन चंद्र की जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नस्तप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So today we have 3 verses that will be spoken together. The reason why they are being spoken together is because 3 of them don't have purports. But they are very important verses because within the translation there is so much that we can learn from Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we will also look very briefly on the 10th verse, which has a purport. I seek the blessings of the Vaishnavas, the senior Vaishnavas, who should actually be here seated, so that I will not say anything wrong or offensive in the course of my discussion. We will chant Canto 6, Chapter 14. We chant text 7. Atra na samsayo bhuyan Shrotam kautuhalam prabho Yav paurushena samare Sahasraksham matoshaya. I will read the translation because time is of the essence. Please repeat. My dear Lord, Shukadev Goswami, although Vritasura was a sinful demon, he showed the prowess of a most exalted Kshatriya and satisfied Lord Indra in battle. How could such a demon be a great devotee of Lord Krishna? These contradictions have caused me great doubt, and they have made me eager to hear of this from you. We chant chapter 8, text 8 now. Shri Suta Uvacha Parikshito ita samprasnam Bhagavan Badarayanihi Nishamya Shraddadhanasya Pratinandya Vacho Bravi. Please repeat the translation. Sri Suta Goswami said, after hearing Maharaj Parikshit's very intelligent question, Shukadev Goswami, the most powerful sage, began answering his disciple with great affection. Text 9. Shri Shuka Uvacha Shrinu Swavavito Rajan Itihasam imam yatha Shrutam Dvaipayana Mukhan Narada Devaladapi. Please repeat the translation. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, O King, I shall speak to you the same history I have heard from the mouth of Vyasadeva, Narada, and Devala. Please listen with attention. And now text 10. Asit Raja Sarvabhaumaha Sura Seneshu Vainripa Chitraketuriti Kyato Yasyasi Kamadun Mahi. Now we read the word to word. Asit. There was. Raja. One king. Sarvabhauma. An emperor of the entire surface of the globe. Shuraseneshu. In the country known as Surasena. Vai. Indeed. Nripa. O king. Chitraketuhu. Chitraketu. Iti. Thus. Kyataha. Celebrated. Yasya. Of whom. Asit. Was. Kamaduk. Supplying all the necessities. Mahi. The earth. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Please repeat the translation. O King Parikshit, in the province of Surasena, there was a king named Chitraketu who ruled the entire earth. During his reign, the earth produced all the necessities for life. Please hear the purport. Here, the most significant statement is that the earth completely produced all the necessities of life during the time of King Chitraketu. As stated in the Ishopanishad, Mantra 1, Ishavasya midam sarvam, yat kincha jagatyam jagat, tena tyaktena bunjitaha, ma gradaha kasyasvit dhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota. And one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Krishna, the Supreme Controller, has created the material world which is completely perfect and free from scarcity. The Lord supplies the necessity of all living entities. These necessities come from the earth, and thus the earth is the source of supply. Where there is a good ruler, that source produces the necessities of life abundantly. However, when there is not such a good ruler, there will be scarcity. This is the significance of the word Kamaduk. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.10.4, it is said, Kamam Vavarsha Parjanya Sarva Kama Duga Mahi. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of men in profusion. We have experienced that in some seasons, the rains produce abundance, and in other seasons, there is scarcity. We have no control over the earth's productiveness, for it is naturally under the full control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By His order, the Lord can make the earth produce sufficiently or insufficiently. If a pious king rules the earth according to the Sastric injunctions, there will naturally be regular rainfall and sufficient produce to provide for all men. There will be no question of exploitation, for everyone will have enough. Black marketeering and other corrupt dealings will then be automatically stopped. Simply ruling the land cannot solve man's problems unless the leader has spiritual capabilities. He must be like Maharaj Yudhishthir, Parikshit Maharaj or Ramchandra, then all the inhabitants of the land will be extremely happy. Jai Shri Prabhupada, Transcendental Purports Ki. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. This verse is preceded by 3 other verses. And the 3 other verses actually build up very nicely to this particular verse. We understand from these verses that we see here that actually if you look at the summary of this chapter, you will find that Srila Prabhupada starts the summary by saying that Parikshit Maharaj is asking and sincerely inquiring from his spiritual master, Shukadev Goswami, how such a demon, Vritasura, could actually become an exalted devotee. So that is the question that actually frames this chapter. And he's also asking, how is it that Vritasura's pious life, how is it that he could become such a pious and pure devotee of the Lord when actually he was in the body of a demon? What was the circumstances? And how is it that he could actually even satisfy Indra, who was actually on the opposite side of the camp and who was supposed to be his sworn enemy? So this is a very valid question. And in the 3 verses before this, in the verse 7, we understand that Parikshit Maharaj begins his inquiry. And in this chapter, at the very beginning, Srila Prabhupada uses the word inquiring also. So it's very clear here that in order for us to understand anything about spiritual life, the beginning is actually inquiry. Everything starts in spiritual life on the basis of inquiry. In fact, sometimes we take inquiry for granted. And we think that inquiring means we just have to ask and some knowledge is given. But actually we don't realize that in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, the effect of sincere inquiry is actually given. When you have time, you please look at the 1st canto, 3rd chapter, 39th verse. In that 39th verse, the power of inquiry is given very nicely by Shukadev Goswami himself. It's a beautiful verse. Ateha danya bhagavantamittam yadva sudeve akhila lokanate kurvanti sarvat makamadma bhavam na yatra bhuya parivarta ugraha. The translation is very nice. Shukadev Goswami says, only by making such inquiries in this world, only, there's no other way, only by making inquiries in this world can one become successful. So spiritual life and the success of spiritual life is defined by the quality of our inquiry. Shukadev Goswami says if one wants to be successful in this world, then it is only by inquiry. Another effect of inquiry in the shloka, Shukadev Goswami says, is that the devotee who sincerely inquires about Krishna will become perfectly cognizant. So one is successful and the second is perfectly cognizant. In other words, we are given the gift by Krishna to understand what is what, to understand what is relative and what is absolute. And then Shukadev Goswami goes on to say, such inquiries invoke transcendental ecstatic love onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So actually when we begin the process of inquiry, that is the way that transcendental love for Krishna is actually provoked and invoked. So it's a very important point. So we must never underestimate the power of inquiry. And that is why in every part of Bhagavatam, the success of Parikshit Maharaj is that he was always inquiring. He was always inquiring. And the moment he inquired, Shukadev Goswami would become extremely happy. So that's why he was asking, how could such a demon be a great devotee of Lord Krishna? How could he satisfy Indra in battle when they were on opposite ends? So we can discern actually from this shloka that actually from what he was asking, that Vritrasur himself was actually previously Chitraketu Maharaj. And the inquiry begins giving us that insight into who Vritrasur was. And if we did not ask, if Shukadev Goswami did not make such an inquiry, we would never understand the greatness of Ritasur and the greatness of devotional service. Because through Chitraketu's life, we understand the power of devotional service. Soon, in the next few chapters, you will study his life. But we will understand from the pages of Bhagavatam that even though Chitraketu Maharaj will eventually be cursed by Parvati Mata, but he would accept it with great grace and humility. And though it appeared that he would take the body of a demon, Krishna is so kind that whatever devotional abilities and opulences that he had gained as Chitraketu Maharaj would never go in vain. Would never go in vain. So this brings us to the next important point. And that is that the power of devotional service exceeds time, it exceeds all dimensions. Everything will stop, but devotional service continues. That is why none of us in this world were born with previous degrees. Supposing you had MSc, MA, MBA. When you were born, your degrees did not come with you, isn't it? You were just born. No paper came with you. No one knows what papers they attained. Nobody knows how many husbands and how many wives they had. Actually, it's good we don't know also. And at the same time, when we leave this world, we understand that none of the degrees that we have gotten, none of the accolades that we have received, nothing comes with us. Nothing. But Kapila Dev tells Devahuti Mata in the 3rd canto, 25th chapter, I think it's 38th verse, 325-38. There, he tells her a very important aspect of devotional service. Na karhinchin madparaha shantarupe nang shantino me nimisho ledhi dihi yeshamaham priya atma sutascha sakha guro suhrido daivamishtam. That verse has a very nice long purport. But the verse itself is very nice. Kapila Dev tells his mother, my dear mother, those devotees, when they receive the transcendental opulence of devotional service, they are never bereft of this opulence. In other words, neither time, animisho, nor ledihi, nor any kind of weapon can destroy this devotional service. And Vritasur proved that. Chitraketu Maharaj proved that even though they were put in difficulty, Krishna protected the stock of their devotional service. The same thing happened to Gajendra. He was Indrajimna Maharaj and he was seated when he was cursed. But when he became Gajendra the elephant, at the most difficult time, when everyone left him, he decided to seek the shelter of all shelters, that is known as Paramparayanam. He surrendered. He performed surrender, Sharanam. But he took shelter of one who is worthy of surrender. And that is Sharanyam. Sharanam, Sharanyam. In this world, we are all looking to surrender to someone. So Sharanam is always there. But if Sharanyam is not correct, then Sharanam has no value. This we must remember. If we don't surrender to the source of all surrenders and shelters, that surrender will leave with this body. But if we surrender to the source of all shelters, then that devotional service continues with us. And the proof is in this verse and in Bhagavatam. So we should remember that those who are very dear to Krishna, they see Krishna as their friend, benefactor, they see Krishna as their supreme deity, and devotional service is never destroyed. So never be discouraged, Prabhus, Matajis. The moment you have taken up devotional service, you may want to leave it, but devotional service does not leave you. This is the power of devotional service. Even if you want to run away from devotional service will it will always be the stock. It will never leave us. And in this purport to 325-38, Prabhupada writes a line that says, if you make Krishna your friend, he will never cheat you. Such a sweet line, isn't it? If you make Krishna your friend, he will never cheat you. Then Prabhupada goes on to say that so many devotees, they see Krishna as maybe a child in the form of Vatsalya Ras. And there have been so many instances, Prabhupada writes in the purport, when these devotees have passed on, the deities came to perform the last rites for these devotees. So where can you get a better son than Krishna? And where can you get a better friend than Krishna? So this is the power of devotional service that we should never underestimate. So when we leave this world, remember and have faith that Krishna is always giving us devotional service. In the next verse, we also find another, in the next shloka and the shloka before, another word that is very important is the word kautuhalam. Kautuhalam means to hear eagerly. So there is an exchange here between Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj has started the process of devotional service with sincere inquiry. That inquiry, as we spoke to you, invokes transcendental love for Krishna. Now, as he's asking and making sincere inquiries, he is also saying that he wants to hear eagerly the answers to the inquiry. Sometimes we have the tendency to ask something, but we have the answer and we just are asking. Sometimes we already have one answer, we are fishing around with many people, and hopefully somebody's answer will align with our answer, and then we're happy. Right? Sometimes we do that. I sometimes hear someone ask me a question. Then I thought I was the only one who was asked. Then 10 other devotees say, that devotee asked me 10 times the same question. But at the end of the day, the answer is not aligned with that person. He doesn't follow. So inquiry is good. But to hear eagerly the answer to the inquiry completes the process. This is very important. That makes it complete. So here, Shukadeva Goswami is very, very interested in hearing eagerly the message from Parikshit Maharaj wants to hear very eagerly the message from Shukadeva Goswami. And this word eager is so important. In 284 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a very nice point that Shukadeva Goswami brings up. Shranavataha Shraddhaya Nityam. Shranavataha Shraddhaya Nityam. Shranavataha means those who hear. So this process means to hear. Then Shranavataha Shraddhaya. Now Shraddhaya, we normally know it as faith. But if you read the word-to-word transliteration that Prabhupada gives, and this is why we have to read the word-to-word transliteration. Prabhupada did not give us the transliterations as a scholarly action. He did that because if we meditate on the word-to-word transliterations, we will find that the translation that Prabhupada gives and the transliteration that he gives, it embellishes and enriches our understanding of the whole shloka. So an example is this. In the translation, it is nicely stated, devotees who regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam. But in the transliteration of that verse, 284, Shraddhaya is translated by Prabhupada as with earnestness. With earnestness. That means if we want to eagerly hear and if we want to do it with faith, then the component of eagerness is needed for us to hear. That eagerness equals to earnestness. And that's the same thing here that Parikshit Maharaj is doing. He's earnest, he's eager, he's enthusiastic. All three E's, easy to remember, isn't it? Enthusiastic, earnest, and eager. These are three ways we should hear. If we are earnest, if we are eager, and we are enthusiastic, then our hearing becomes submissive. Because in the first canto, first chapter, I think it is the purport of the second verse, Prabhupada writes there that one who hears Bhagavatam must hear with submission. And this submission comes when we are enthusiastic, when we are eager, and when we are earnest. So this is a very important thing. And there's a famous line that Prabhupada gives in his purport of 1:2:16. It's a very beautiful line. Prabhupada says, the eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification for a devotee. It's the first qualification a devotee is eligible for entering the kingdom of God. It's the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. So eagerness to hear, very important. So you can see that this is such a practical part of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes we have this notion that Srimad Bhagavatam is speaking about events which are very far away and which we may not relate to. But if you really study Srimad Bhagavatam, you find that Srimad Bhagavatam gives us how to live devotional service daily. Daily. There's nothing in Bhagavatam that does not give us that actually. So this point is very important. In text 8, Shukadev Goswami, upon seeing the eagerness of Parikshit Maharaj and his sincere inquiry, now he reciprocates. And how does he reciprocate? Prabhupada translates so beautifully that he now replies to his disciple with great affection. With great affection. So our movement is not an impersonalist movement. It is not that, you sit one corner and I sit one corner and after we finish we go away. It is based on love, trust, affection. There is so much affection. Shukadev Goswami became so affectionate and he became very pleased. And the question that is asked by Parikshit Maharaj is defined in text 8 as a very intelligent question. Very intelligent question. So any question related to Krishna is very intelligent. It is not that you are intelligent. There's a difference, right? There's a difference. The question is intelligent because it is related to Krishna. So even if we are not very intelligent, if we are making sincere inquiries, Krishna grants us the intelligence. Because all intelligence is coming from him. It is not coming from us. So this is the example of how Parikshit Maharaj is a wonderful disciple. The disciple-spiritual master relationship is so nicely given here. And it is not just a formal relationship between an initiated spiritual master and a disciple. Anyone sitting down sincerely inquiring about Bhagavatam, from a sincere devotee who is practicing Bhagavatam, that relationship is on the platform of sincere inquiry, it's on the platform of affection, and it's on the platform of eagerness. And this qualification is extremely important. And last point on this point is Shukadev Goswami asked these questions on the basis of faith, right? On the basis of faith. If you look at the text 8, when you have time, there is one word there. Again, Srila Prabhupada gives emphasis to that. Shraddha Dhanasya. Shraddha Dhanasya, Prabhupada translates in the transliteration, means so faithful in understanding the truth. So faithful in understanding the truth. So it's not just having faith, but being faithful to understand the truth. That means two things. One, that we must have faith in Bhagavatam, and we must have faith in Krishna. But the other point is that we must also be faithful to Krishna. Avyabhicharena. Avyabhicharena means we don't look here or we don't look there. We only look to Krishna. And that is it. Krishna is our whole. Krishna is our soul. In good times we are with Krishna. In bad times we are more with Krishna actually, isn't it? The problem sometimes is in good times we say thank you very much Krishna and we forget him. But in bad times suddenly we remember Krishna very much. But Krishna is very kind. I remember when I started taking up Krishna consciousness and I started chanting, my mother would know when the exams were coming. Because when the exams were coming, suddenly my chanting was intensified. And she would tell me, your exams are coming now. And then she would knew when the exams were over. Because suddenly I stopped chanting. And she knew now the exams were over. And then again she knew now that the results were coming. Because suddenly I started chanting very hard. So in this way, no matter what, in whichever manner we come to Krishna, whether we have motive, whether we have no motive, our karma, sarva karma, moksha karma, whichever way, the point is we must be faithful to Krishna. We must be chaste to Krishna. Chastity is such an important quality in devotional service. It is not only the power of womanhood, but that chastity is derived for all mankind. All of us must be chaste to Krishna. Because in Bhagavatam 6th canto, Krishna is described as Otam Protam. He is horizontal and he is vertical. You know, when you look at your dhotis, if you had a microscope, you would see actually that all our fabric of our cloth are all in stitches, right? They're all cross junctions. Depending on how many junctions there are and how close and dense they are, that much quality the material has. Now, every junction of that is Otam Protam. That means that every junction of our life, we should actually invoke inquiry of Krishna. We should invoke the presence of Krishna by chanting his names, by studying Bhagavatam. This is very important. And if we do that, then in 3, 5, 13 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Devatas pray to Krishna And they say something very beautiful. Sa Shraddhadanasya. You can chant. Sa Shraddhadanasya. Vivardhamana. Virakti manyatra. Karoti pumsaha. Hare padanu. Smriti nivritti tasya. Samasta dukkha. Yayamashudatte. So the devatas say, if one is anxious to engage constantly in hearing such topics, see, again, Bhagavatam is very consistent. One who is anxious, that means you are eager to engage constantly in hearing such topics. Krishna Katha, this is what we are doing in Pune. Krishna Katha increases his indifference, viraktim, his indifference towards all other things, and increases his constant remembrance of the lotus feet of the Lord, and vanquishes all miseries without delay. Without delay. So this is the power of sitting just to hear and just to speak on Bhagavatam. So Shraddha Danasya here means one who is anxious to hear. So you must be in anxiety. We are all stricken by anxiety in this material world, isn't it? Actually, we are always anxious. Now you must be anxious, when is he going to finish? When I'm going to have prasadam? All this is anxiety. But anxiety for Krishna is very powerful. It is better to be anxious for Krishna and die of anxiety than to be anxious for something not related to Krishna and continue to live. There's no point to that. So it is better to be that way. And now, in text 9, Shukadev Goswami, with great happiness and affection, he says, I will now repeat to you this history of Vritrasur. I will now repeat to you the history. But I will do it in a certain way. He says, I will do it by speaking the same history that I have heard from exalted devotees before me. My father Vyasadeva, Narada, Devala. In other words, Shukadev Goswami is telling us a very important principle, that if we were to repeat Srimad Bhagavatam, if we were to repeat Shastras, we must repeat it as it is. We should not embellish it. We should not use it for our purposes. We should not use the Vyasasan to advance a material cause. We should not use the Vyasasan to put forward a slogan that we like. We must speak with chastity. That is avyabhicharena. And he is doing that. And this is not Shukadev Goswami plucking this point out from the cold. In 10.1.4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami emphasizes this point. Nivritta tarshei upagiyamana bhavav shodachotra manobhiraman ka uttama shloka gunanuvadhan puman virajeta vinapasugnan. What is the first line there? Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in parampara. Full stop. You cannot get anything more clearer than that. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. This is our culture. This is the culture from which we study Bhagavatam. So always remember this very important point. Do not go anywhere else. Be at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, because Prabhupada represents the summum bonum of our parampara. Everything that we need to understand has been digested, has been invested, and has been now given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Whatever nectarian juice that Shukadev Goswami chewed and made it sweeter has become sweetened and enhanced by Srila Prabhupada in direct parampara. That is why Srila Prabhupada's books must be scrutinizingly studied. Every day, come what may, please open the book, read one sloka. Even if there is something going on, make this your appointment with Krishna. We have so many appointments every day. Dental appointment, medical appointment, this appointment, that appointment. We don't miss them. But the most important appointment that we should not miss is our appointment with Krishna. And that appointment with Krishna must be the first thing in the day. That's why Prabhupada established morning as the time to start with Krishna. Sitting down with Bhagavatam is glorification. So we should be very careful that the reason why we come to this temple is to merely glorify Krishna and serve the devotees. If we come with any other motive, we will be disturbed. But if we come with the only motive to glorify Krishna, then that is enough. We don't want any other glorification. When the gopis came together, it is so nicely stated that the only thing they did was to glorify and talk about Krishna. Grahe grahe gopavadhu kadambe sarve militva samavapya yogam punyani namani patanti nityam govinda damo daramadaveti vikretu kama kila gopakanya Murari Padar Pitachetra Vritti Dadyadikam Mohavacha Vocha Govinda Damo Daramadaveti. So nicely Bilva Mangal Thakur sings. He says, Grahe Grahe Gopavaddu Kadambe. Every evening when the gopis came together after all the work, when the inhabitants of Vrindavan came together, they all would come and sit down. They won't turn on the TVs and hear the radios and look at their WhatsApp. They won't do such things. They would all sit together and they would engage in gossip. But this gossip was transcendental gossip. It was, do you know what Krishna did today? Do you know what Krishna said today? Do you know how Krishna looked today? Their entire focus was on Krishna. And because Krishna was in the center of all their discussions, and because Krishna was the object of their glorification, they were completely peaceful. They had no problems. They were always together and they were very united. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmasapaham shravana mangalam shrimadatatam bhuvi granantiye burida janaha. The gopis say, just this Amrit of Krishna Katha is tapta jivana. It is the life and the soul of our lives. In other words, if we study and hear and practice Srimad Bhagavatam, this glorification of Bhagavatam will sustain us. It will really sustain us. And now the last shloka. In the last shloka, very nicely, Prabhupada brings up this important point. The last shloka tells us, Shukadev Goswami says, that Chitraketu Maharaj was such a great king. And why was he such a great king? The evidence of his greatness was that when he was ruling, the earth produced all necessities for life. And Prabhupada brings up this Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam verse to tell us so importantly one important point, that actually nothing belongs to us. And anything that is given to us is our quota. If we can accept that from Krishna, we will be peaceful. If we expect more, we will become anxious. In expectation, there is always anxiety. But in acceptance, there is always peace. They sound alike, expectation and acceptance, but they are a world apart. The devotees accept whatever that come to them as what is given by Krishna. And Sudama went to see Krishna in Porbandar. All the way from Porbandar, he went to Dwarka. That's about 200-300 miles. He didn't take train, he walked. And he went all the way there because his wife felt that maybe you should ask Krishna for something now. You know, pull a few strings because you know Krishna from the old days. And when he finally went, Krishna took so good care of him. But Krishna never asked him, why have you come? Is there something I can do for you? If I were in Sudama's place, I would definitely think, why isn't Krishna asking why I traveled 300 kilometers? Or I should think, maybe I should ask Krishna for something. But in the end, Sudama went to bed. He was so nicely taken care of. Bhagavatam says when he lay down on the bed, which felt like feather, he thought he had died and gone to heaven. That was how amazing it was. In the morning, he was taken so good care of and he left. And as he was leaving, he was thinking to himself, who am I but a poor sinful Brahmana? And who is Krishna but Sriniketana? And in that way, he did not expect anything. And in that acceptance, he was very peaceful. But in expectation, it is very difficult. So Prabhupada makes a very important point that we should be satisfied with what comes of its own accord. And the earth can satisfy us if we are devotees. A devotional leader with spiritual capacity can invoke the pleasure of Mother Earth such that Bhumi Devi can give everything. The problem with today's world, Prabhupada writes so nicely, is that today no one has accepted Bhumi Devi as a living being. Nobody sees the earth as a living being. Hardly anyone knows that the earth is a great devotee. Everyone is simply exploiting the earth. And therefore, even though she is ready to produce, but there are no prayers that give her pleasure to produce. So no one, it is a fallacy to say that we are actually in scarcity. Just like it is a fallacy to say that, in modern times, mortality rates have reduced. A reporter spoke to Srila Prabhupada and told him, Srila Prabhupada, would you agree that mortality rates in this world have actually drastically reduced? And Srila Prabhupada said, mortality rate is still the same. It's always 100%. It's always 100%. No matter how long you prolong it, you are going to die anyway. It's always going to be 100%. So actually abundance is also 100%. It's always there. It's a question of whether we are actually performing sincere, loving, devotional service. And one last point. When we talk about abundance and lacking, many of you are grahasthas here. And I'm reminded of this beautiful episode in, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 24th chapter. The case of Mrigari, the hunter who was killing and maiming animals. And Narada came and preached to him and told him to drop the bow and stop his work. And what did Mrigari say? Mrigari said that actually, Narada, I can't because the bow is maintaining me. He said that, if you remember. And when he said that, Narada said that, no, the bow is not maintaining you. And Prabhupada in that purport, it's 24,257. See it if you can. Prabhupada writes an amazing statement. He says, the source of income is not actually the source of maintenance. The source of your income is not the source of your maintenance. Srila Prabhupada says, you think you're maintaining yourself with your income, but actually Krishna is maintaining you. Because if your income was maintaining you, you can live indefinitely, but you're actually maintained by Krishna. That is the only way we are alive and moving. So many of you have renounced all your well-placed jobs, sacrificed so much time. Your bank balances are not empty. And even if they are empty, you are alive. You have the best temple as roof. You have the best prasadam, incomparable in Pune. What more do you need? Everything is here. You have more space than any of the people living in their houses. This temple has more space than any other place I know. So, we have not lost anything. So the point, if we may conclude, is that actually devotional service is the only thing that we need in our lives. Vritasur realized that. And that's why he did not want anything else. And that's why Shukadev Goswami is asking why he's so glorious. And we end by remembering just one shloka that he sang so beautifully in the last 4 shlokas. Nanaka prishtam, nachaparameshtam, na sarva bhaumam, na rasadipatyam, na yoga siddhir, apunar bhavam, samanjasatva, virahaya kangshe. He says, I don't want, dominion over this world, the above worlds, the lower worlds. I don't want yoga, yogic siddhi. I don't want anything if it doesn't give me an opportunity to serve your lotus feet. Samanjas. Samanjas means source of opportunity. Krishna is the source of opportunity. So if you have an opportunity to hear Bhagavatam, that source of opportunity, it is Krishna. And if you look around your life, every time there's a source of opportunity, it is Krishna. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Gaura Premanande. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Very, very grateful and thankful for this beautiful class. It was such a nice presentation.
Thank you.
I'm hearing you for the first time. I've heard about you, but hearing from you for the first time. Very nicely you presented, earnest, eager, enthusiastic hearing. It is one of my contemplations also how to be submissive, how to do submissive hearing. And my question is that when we are wanting to hear submissively, there are hurdles, there are problems which a sadhaka faces, which is like the I know disease or something like, I have heard it repeatedly. Now we understand bhakti means we do the same things repeatedly, but how to overcome these kind of things that, sometimes I don't want to hear because my false ego is, you've already told about that in the lecture, but I want to know more about it. Like, the curtains are there. I have made my igloos. I don't want to, go beyond certain limits of my, whatever I have set in my devotional service. So when I want to hear submissively, how to cross these barriers?
Prabhu, one important thing about hearing submissively, from my limited understanding, despite having heard it so many times, and the mind says, I know this, and I know that, and I know this. One thing I've realized that's important is this word in Bhagavatam known as Granatascha Swachestitam. It comes in 284 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Granatascha Swachestitam. Prabhupada translates that in the transliteration as seriously by one's own endeavor. So, when we understand in our hearts that we have heard something and that the mind has the tendency to not be submissive because we think we know it already, we should then use our intelligence and remember that when we continue to endeavor to hear, and we are performing this endeavor with our own labor, that endeavor attracts Krishna. Because in that verse, Shranavataha Shraddhaya Nityam, Granatascha Swachestitam, Kalena na atidirgena, Bhagavan Vishate Hriti. So there it is nicely stated, persons who regularly hear, and regular here is given as Nityam. Nityam actually means always, but in the translation Prabhupada puts regular. In case we think regular means once a year. Once a year I'm very regular. I hear once a year Bhagavatam. I'll chant once in 2 weeks. I'm very regular, Prabhu. But Prabhupada says it's always. So if we sincerely endeavor and continuously tell our mind, tell ourselves that even though I think I know, actually I don't know and I should hear. That endeavor that you make attracts Krishna. Kalena na atidirgena. In no time, Krishna will reciprocate. So that's why endeavor is so important in devotional service, not just for anything other than that, but for what you say. To be submissive is a constant endeavor. To be submissive doesn't mean we have arrived. It's a continuum of events. And every day we have to initiate that movement of submission. Because every day the mind needs to be washed. Every day we have to chant. So this repetition is necessary. It is necessary. The mind will give us the favorable arguments, Prabhu, but in the association of devotees, that strong presence of the mind will reduce. That is what I can understand in the short time that I have. I hope it's useful, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. We have.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This verse of Ishopanishad where is describing that one should accept what is his quota. So we are trying to understand. So every time when I read these verses, especially this one, then I get the confusion that who will decide the quota of what is reserved for me.
How will I know what is my quota? Right?
Or whatever is given, it seems to be like my quota only.
I think you just answered the question, Prabhu. Whatever is given is your quota.
No, and in the sense that whatever is given, in the sense that I want more also, and then if that is also given, that is also I consider that is also reserved for me.
That is true. Because if you desire for something, and Krishna by his arrangement gives it to you, that means it's sanctioned. It's given to you. But there will always be consequences if what you desire is material. Supposing you are a devotee, but you're desiring for things which are material, you may get it, Prabhu. But at the end of the day, it may disrupt your devotional service. So then you understand that is not my quota, because it is leading to an increase in your material hankering. So when our material hankerings increase, and we still don't feel satisfied, that means whatever that we are asking for is actually not needed. That's why the hankering is disturbing us, you see. So that's why in the presence of devotees, that verse in the Prachetas, 4th canto, 30th chapter, Yatra idyante kathamristas, Trishnayaha prasammo yataha nirvaira sarvabhuteshu nodvega yatra kaschana. Prachetas say, in the assembly of devotees, three things cannot touch us. Very practical verse. First, Trishnayaha prasammo yataha. Whatever material hankerings that we have, in the presence of devotees, they become satisfied. That is your quota. Then, Nirvaira Sarvabhuteshu. Whatever envy that we feel with each other, if we go for a social function, we will become very envious of each other. Oh, you're wearing nice dhoti, you have a new car. But in the presence of devotees, nobody is looking at each other. Nobody cares who is wearing. Because we are all concentrating on Krishna. There's no envy. And then the last point is Nodvega. There's no fear or anxiety. So a devotee the devotee's prayer to Krishna should be, whatever Krishna you think is best for me, let that be my quota. I may have something that I desire in my heart, but if it is not fulfilled, it is not needed. If it is fulfilled spiritually, I accept it as Krishna's. But if it is material, my experience from Bhagavatam is that it will eventually cause you agitation and hankering. You look very peaceful anyway, Prabhu. I think we should end because we have the meetings coming up. One last question? Okay. We have one more there. Maharaj, if I've said something wrong or you would like to correct me, please. No, please, just let me know. So one last question there then. Is it over here? Oh, I had a hand up there also.
Hare
1 minute, Prabhu. Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much for a
Hare
beautiful presentation. Prabhu, you talked about this symptom of surrender and how it has to be continuous, nitya. So when we come into devotional service, initially it's actually extremely easy. We relish every single small thing of Krishna consciousness. Simply by looking at devotees dancing, we become so happy, and we are also able to perform that and do that. But as time progresses, I have seen in my own life, we used to tend to become judgmental, and also actually with that being judgmental of even small things which we used to relish once upon a time, I can see that even I have stopped relishing those small things which I used to do. So in terms of when we progress in devotional service, how does one take a kind of inventory of such hurdles, and what could be the measures so that we keep that innocence of Krishna consciousness alive while we are progressing in devotional service?
Quick answer to a very deep question is when we start devotional service, there's so much to clean. And so at that point of time, the dust is all rising. And then we can understand that the room is dirty. And you've become very enthused that you are cleaning. But when most of the dust is out, Prabhu, there's always that fine dust that settles very quickly. The Gundicha Marjan episode is very indicative of that. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed Gundicha Marjan, when he washed Gundicha temple first time, it was a very, very, very exalted and very joyous event because so much of dust was there. It was so much that Mahaprabhu could have competition for who had the most dust. But when Mahaprabhu entered again, and then again he started washing, there was hardly anything to come out actually. But there were fine dust. So this is a natural part of devotional service, that whatever happens, the finer dust is always more difficult to come out. And one of the symptoms of the finer anarthas that doesn't come out so easily is fault finding. Kutinati, right? Prabhupada writes in that purport, it is fault finding. So when we are growing in devotional service, Srila Prabhupada also says that Maya will test us. Maya will wage war. As we have declared war on Maya, Maya will declare war on us. Maya's duty is to test us. And only when we are tested, Prabhu, only when we are assessed will we grow. So it depends on how a devotee wants to look at the difficulties and challenges of devotional service. Do we see it as a negative event? Or do we see it as a positive event indicating that we have so much work to do and we must continue our enthusiasm and that we are still as neophyte as the day we started devotional service? If we have that mood, then every day we have to continue the process of devotional service, have good association, and work hard, endeavor. Sometimes we have to force ourselves to come for Mangala Aarti. I'm sure no one is jumping up, in ecstasy at 3:30 in the morning and running to Mangala Aarti. We're all dragging ourselves out of bed. 2 minutes more, 3 minutes more. This alarm goes off, that alarm goes off. Sometimes 5 alarms, My brother used to have 5 alarm clocks. He used to hang them. And after they all went off, he still couldn't get up. So we're all trying. But Krishna is kind. When he sees our effort, Krishna will reciprocate. He will send devotees. He will send Bhagavatam. He will give us the process. And Srila Prabhupada is even more merciful. He has given you the intelligence to ask a question which is relevant to all of us. And in that way, we'll become enthused again. So that's the short answer to a long and important question, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Okay, last of the last.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
That's the last of the last, is it, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. So, in the...
Please. Sorry, I'll take the question and we'll leave, yeah. Okay, thank you. No. Yes, Prabhu, sorry.
So, in the lecture, we heard that it is better to die in the anxiety of Krishna rather than living in the anxiety of something else. So, what is meant by exactly anxiety of Krishna, and how to die in anxiety of Krishna rather than living in anxiety of something else?
Very nice question. I'll leave the dying part away because we are alive at the moment. So let's talk about being alive. The question was, I had mentioned that it's better to be anxious for Krishna and die in that way than to be living and anxious without Krishna. So how to be anxious and die for Krishna? So I'm saying let's leave the death part aside. But we can be anxious to do something for Krishna. Sometimes you're given a service, Prabhu, and you want to do it well, isn't it? Because you want to do it for Krishna. That builds up anxiety in you. Sometimes there's a big event. Now Sharad Purnima is coming. A lot of work is being done. All the devotees doing this, they are in anxiety. Whether it'll come out properly, whether something will collapse or something will be there. These anxieties are all there. They're all there. I could not sleep for the whole night because I was anxious. Will I find the right points in the class? But this anxiety keeps us fixed with Krishna. You see the point, right? It keeps us fixed with Krishna. This anxiety doesn't give us blood pressure. And even if it does give us blood pressure, it's all right. At least we are remembering Krishna, right? Anyway, you're going to die. If you have to die, if you have to die in Mangala Aarti because you're anxious, then you have to go. But there's no loss, you see. That's the point. So, like Prabhupada said, anything can be used in the service of Krishna. Anxiety seems to be the order of the new generation. Everyone's anxious, right? So let's use anxiety for Krishna. Turn it into enthusiasm. Anything used for Krishna is transformed. Anything used for Krishna will eventually bring you joy. That is the power of it. And we must have faith that the process works. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu's Matajis, for your time. And I wish you all the best in your devotional service.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, many devotees are waiting for that last thing. While introducing you, Radhishamru told that you will tell something about your schedule. So many devotees are looking for that.
My schedule is very tight now. I have to go. But my schedule is just like all of you. I mean, we wake up in the morning to do Mangala Aarti, we chant, and then I take a little bit of a nap, and then I wake up, take bath, and then I read Srimad Bhagavatam for a while and take notes, and then I get ready to do something for the deities. My wife is there. She also does the share of the service to the deities. And then after that, we both have to go to work. And at work, because it's my own practice, I have the flexibility to either meet devotees or do something for Krishna, and also go to court and fight my cases. And then when I come home in the evening, the children are growing up, so they have taste for Krishna. So we do some kirtan, do some Gaurarati, we read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, and then I take some calls which have to do with my work as general counsel, and maybe some overseas calls, and then I try to take rest as soon as I can. But sometimes there's not enough time. But I've realized one thing, that time belongs to Krishna, and time is Krishna. So if you use time for Krishna, then your 24 hours can actually feel like it's 48 hours. Because Krishna is time. Why would he deny time to you when you're using time for him? Think about it. It just doesn't make sense, you see. Logically, sastrically, if Krishna is time, why would he deny time to you when you're giving time to him? That's all, Prabhus. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Let us thank His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu for such an amazing class by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu की जय। प्रभु जी ने बता रहे थे कि एंग्जाइटी कैसे मिटाना है, तो बहुत सारे डिवोटी यहाँ पर आज शरद पूर्णिमा के लिए सेवा करने के लिए एंग्जाइटी में हैं। तो वी नीड 20 डिवोटीज, फॉर्चुनेट डिवोटीज डू दैट सर्विस। आज का जो शरद पूर्णिमा का सेवा करने के लिए 20 डिवोटी चाहिए। तो यहाँ पर एक डिवोटी बोल रहे हैं मैं पहली बार आ रहा हूँ, हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा।
तो ये हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी यहाँ पर आए हैं। तो यहाँ पर 20 भक्तों का जरूरत है। जो भी भक्त यहाँ पर सेवा करना चाहते हैं 10 बजे शार्प, फर्स्ट कम फर्स्ट सर्व बेसिस में यहाँ पर सेवा दिया जाएगा। तो सभी भक्तों से विनती है कि जो 20 भक्त आना चाहते हैं 10 बजे यहाँ पर आके सेवा में लगना है। हरे कृष्णा। हरे कृष्णा। आज शरद पूर्णिमा में बहुत सारे डोनेशन मिल रहे हैं। यहाँ पर किसी ने मोबाइल डोनेशन दिया है, किनका है वो इंफॉर्मेशन सेंटर में प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। हरे कृष्णा।